Yep.
I got you covered. Hello, everybody. Yes, it is Thursday. It is 9, so of course it's UK Cowboys time. How we doing, Mr. Paul?
I'm all right. I'm feeling a hell of a lot better, but yet I am still positive with the good old Rona right now. But
Yes.
I feel absolutely fine. But
Well, that's the main thing.
it's just a matter of just waiting to see when my test will return negative and I can actually get back out in the world. So yeah, other than that, I'm all right.
And when you going for your mental test?
They'll probably never.
Yes, guys, we are getting joined by a special guest as well. We're just waiting for them to get organised and they'll be coming in. But this week we are continuing the draft series. We look at some news as well.
I'm
Circulating.
sorry, mate. Can I address this? Cat, it is your fault. It was all your fault, Cat. It was.
Ah, yes, the great cat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
I do believe she did start the whole circle, whatever you want to call it, from the Super Bowl party.
Yeah.
They're all falling like dominoes now.
Mm-hmm. All you, Cat.
But yeah, on Tuesday, the one just gone, me and Brian got back together, started the Prospect Project. You'll see that every Tuesday now, looking in depth. We had RJ Ochoa on as well from BTB, so that was a lot of fun. He was, what's the word I'm looking for? He was more interested in what we had to say, to be honest with you. So
Yeah.
it was pretty cool.
I tuned in and watched it, and it was it was pretty fascinating. Like, I wasn't expecting my new boss essentially to just like taking that step back, because normally he's always kind of like has his thoughts and opinions and that. But yeah, it was very, very engaging what you wanted, what you and Brian had to say, which was different.
Yeah. So it was quite interesting. Here's one for you. I'll start you off, Paul. Tell me what you think about this.
All right.
Troy Aikman has moved to ESPN.
Ooh.
Apparently making Romo money.
Well, wouldn't that surprise me, to be fair? Like, but don't get me wrong, Romo is at the creme de la creme right now, but for ESPN to try and get a name over to their side of their station, and they'll probably have to pay some stupid amounts of money to get him over anyway, and break the contract he already had.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people they argue with the whole I know we'll get on to draft in a minute, but I know it's one of them things. We've started, so now there's no point in stopping. But I know with a lot of people complain about Aikman and is the way he talks and evaluates, and even Cowboys fans hate how he talks about the Cowboys. But I
like it.
I like it.
Well, the reason why I like it, he's being impartial. He's actually telling you as it is. And and to be fair, he is actually right. I mean, I'd rather have someone tell me when someone's doing something actually wrong, and rather than try and sugarcoat it. Oh yeah, but yeah. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Like, and apparently the quite a fair majority of our fan base don't like it. I'm sorry, but not everything's all silver lining perfect, and as you expected that season to be. Like, we had the players you would expect our players to be that, but it just wasn't the case. But we actually got to see a lot of flaws within our team.
Yeah. So there is that, and apparently the contract is looking to sign fairly big, all the rest of it. So yeah, there we go. Here's a bit of interesting notes I wanted to make, though. One of the things that got dropped this week in conversation was obviously there's a lot of talk about trying to clear cap money. One of the things that has come up, and tell me what you think on this, right? We have Terrence Steele, so bear that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Trading away Lyle Collins.
I would not be against it.
And apparently, I will try and get you the cap numbers. Sorry, I'm having like about 6 conversations here as this one going on. But
what is the impact of Collins to the camp? That's my first question to you.
Yeah, I'll get the numbers up now. So I'll get the numbers up in a moment. But one of the things that they were talking about is that if you make him, and you can designate them as well, a post-June 1 cut, the money is significant. I mean, we're talking double digits in terms of millions.
Yeah.
The exact figure I'll get for you now is trying, along with Brian messaging me. And our special guest as well. Doesn't make great listening, does it? When you're listening to me, like messaging people.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, I know. You know, it's like that thing, tapping your head and rubbing your belly at the same time.
What the?
Yeah, go on. Can you do it?
No, I'm not doing it.
Is it not the head thing? Is just that your belly's too large? Is that what you're trying to say?
My belly's just large in general. I'm just larger in life.
Right, okay. So doodly do. Post June 1 cut would be over 10 million.
That's quite a fair amount.
Yeah. So here we go. Here we are. And here's our special guest. It is, of course, the great and powerful Mickey Spagnola. How are we doing, sir?
We're working on my Friday column for DallasCowboys.com, and I lost track of the time.
You're all right, brother.
How you doing, Mike? Are you doing great?
Thanks for the reminder.
yeah. Well, funnily enough, it was like trying to do we were doing several things at the same time. Yeah, right. It's something that is interesting, right, for you, Mickey. And I've gone back and checked. Now, if you remember last year, you were one of the many people from Dallas Cowboys Media that joined us on our 24-hour draft show. So thanks again for that, by the way.
Sure.
One of the things, so it's been nearly a year since we've talked to you. It's becoming like this annual thing. But a lot of people were going, JC Horn, Patrick Surtain, Sean Slater. But there was, in fact, during that 24-hour show, one man who stood up on the table and said, Micah Parsons.
Yep.
I'll tell you what. I just thought when I looked at his highlights, when I looked into his background and just watched him play, it was like, I need that guy, right? And they might not have got him had those cornerbacks been available. But by the grace of God, he was, and they weren't. And all they did was sit there and say, okay, let's just take the best defensive player on our board the way we got it ranked. And sometimes you ought to follow the board. And sometimes you ought to follow what you see, not look at stats or not look at what other people absolutely think you need. Look at the guy. And I just thought his versatility, his instincts, and just listening to a couple of his interviews, his nature, it's like, I need 11 of those guys on my team.
I think the one word to really summarize Micah Parsons during that whole draft process, he had the fire about him, and you, Micah, you really nailed it down when you were discussing it over the draft, like in terms of what his personality, in terms of his drive, his determination, and his ability. It's like that's exactly what we needed. Like, if I recall back, like what kind of type of impact would we had if we did pick like a GC Horn or that? Like, we wouldn't probably have not had that same impact within our defense, like compared to Micah Parsons. Like, we had Trevon Diggs having a great year, like that kind of covered itself. But if we didn't draft a linebacker, we saw how thin our linebacker core was just leading up to the draft. So I think it was just like it was written in the stars.
And you know, Paul, maybe the biggest thing was also his versatility.
Yes, absolutely.
Because, okay, he's a linebacker. Well, you know what? We just lost our best defensive end to a fractured fifth metatarsal in his foot. We need to upgrade our pass rush. Okay, Micah, we'll put you at defensive end, maybe in some nickel situations. and see how you do rushing the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And we saw what he did, right? And it wasn't all from the defensive end spot, but he ended up with leading the team with 13 sacks, right? Oh, wait a minute. Jalen Smith is not what we thought he was, and he's certainly not missing. He's not fitting into this defense. You know what? I think we need you back at linebacker. So he goes back to linebacker, but they discovered that not only can he play linebacker, but we can stand him up in nickel downs off the line of scrimmage and blitz him. And he's pretty effective coming up the middle because no one's on the offensive lines are usually fast enough or quick enough to pick him up coming through the gap one-on-one. So again, I just thought his versatility and his ability to run. You know, you ask some of the guys in the NFL or some of the guys that have played for the Cowboys previously, and it's like, well, where do you get a guy that's 6'3", 246 and can run, you know, a 4.3, 840? You can't find those guys, right?
Yeah.
And I remember, and it might not have been with you guys, but I was doing one of the shows with the guys from the Giants website, and you know, and they were going on about, you know, not drafting a linebacker that high, and I said, well, what if he's not just a linebacker? What if he's Lawrence Taylor? And they go, all right, you want to go there? And I said, no, right? And so when we did the mock draft, and they were doing it in order, and so they got to me at 11, and they said, so, well, what do you think the Cowboys are going to do? So I went on and on against Parsons, and my buddy John Schmelk goes, okay, Mick, we don't want to know who you want to pick. Tell us who the Cowboys are going to pick. So I gave in, and I gave him one of the cornerbacks, right? And then they remembered that and said, well, yeah, we should have listened to you, not the Cowboys. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's why we had to get you back on. You were the one that predicted. I can remember as well. We had Derek Eagleton on at the same time as you, and you mentioned it. Even Derek went, really? And I was in the same frame of mind. I was more like, you can't draft an off-ball linebacker that high. It's too much of a luxury to take it. But it turns out he's more than an off-ball linebacker.
Yeah, he's more than a linebacker, right?
Yeah, he's more than a linebacker.
As we decided when he started talking about all the Lions, and the Lions are always hungry, and I decided, okay, he's not a linebacker, he's a lionbacker, right? Because he can play in the middle, he can play inside, and he can play outside. And so now going forward, look how important he is now, not knowing what's going to happen with Leighton Vander Esch. You cut ties with Jalen Smith. And if you don't, you know, manage to get Leighton Vander Esch re-signed, you got Micah Parsons and who?
This is what we spoke about on Tuesday. We've got Jabril Cox, but what's he going to be?
And we don't know. He played, I think I looked it up, he played like 10 defensive snaps before he suffered his torn ACL. He was a special teams player, basically.
That's right,
And so, we saw him make a play or two out of 10, but is he a full-time linebacker that's going to come in and play on the weak side? Because he's certainly not capable of playing in the middle, I don't think.
Definitely. I'm with you.
No.
And so, and then, you know, your other linebackers, Luke Gifford's a restricted free agent. Now you can assume he's coming back. Francis Bernard, you know, he's restricted, so you'll get him back. But really, you got nothing to sink your teeth into other than Micah Parsons at this point.
Yeah. And my argument, I don't know what you think of this, Mickey, as well, is that people are talking about, you know, as we just said, you know, he's more than a linebacker. In terms of what I would want with Micah Parsons is I want, because you're going to need at least another 6 guys, theoretically. And then what I want to do with that is I want to make sure that these linebackers are going to be capable enough to keep Micah Parsons free and roaming to do what he does best. Because I don't want, some people are saying they want to pin Parsons down to a particular position, if you like. But I like the idea of him being moved around, so it confuses offenses of where's he going to be.
Right. As opposed to saying, okay, he's my defensive end.
Yeah,
So now
exactly.
our offenses know where he's going to line up every play. He's at defensive end, and he found out about double teams, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he found out about chipping.
There you go.
He even made a kind of funny remark about somebody said about chipping. He goes, "Yeah, I'm not a fan of the chip, right? Yeah, no kidding, right? Because you're getting blindsided by a running back or a tight end when you're least expecting it." So, there's some people who go, "Oh, no, he's got to be a defense." No, he doesn't need to be a defensive end. He's not built like a defensive end.
No.
Now, you can light him up there for change-up stuff, and you saw how effective they were at times when they went to a 5-man front and put him on the outside as kind of the 5th guy. And so now they can't double team him, because if they double team him there, then it's a tight end and a wide receiver, or a tight end and the running back. And now DeMarcus Lawrence is singled up on an offensive tackle. So I just think his versatility is his greatest quality, not to mention speed, his instincts, and just his want to play. He's not happy. He's happy he got these awards, but he looked at it as, now the hard part is to do it again.
Yeah.
It's just to add on top of what you were saying there, Micah. Like if there was one comparison I would actually associate with Micah Parsons, it's like the way you would deploy a certain player, like for example Von Miller. Like he's been that type of player as well, where he is a linebacker, but he's been put into the line of scrimmage as an edge rusher in some situations as well. That's what we're kind of seeing. What we're doing with Micah is the adaptability of this one particular player, and but I think Parsons is more than that. Like he can even go into coverage. We even saw that during the season, like when one of his, I can't remember what game it was or what corner it was, but one of the corners decided to go further down, and it kind of left a gap in coverage. So Parsons decided to pick up the pieces and go into coverage.
Yeah.
So it just shows you, it's just so he can adapt to any situation. He reads the play as it goes along, and I think that's just special what we've got right in front of us.
Can't teach that.
No, you cannot. Exactly.
And his instincts to play the game are amazing. And when he makes a mistake, he's got the speed to make up for his mistake. I mean, I understand what happened in the 40-yard dash at the Pro Bowl.
At the Pro Bowl, yeah.
but look at it. Tyreek Hill, everybody else was down in a 3-point stance, right? Like a sprinter stance.
Yeah.
And he tried to do it standing up, and he stumbled. And after he stumbled, he gave up. Everybody said, no, he didn't try. No, he gave up after he stumbled because he knew he wasn't going to get there. And all of a sudden, you got Micah Parsons in the lead against a DB and a running back. And
Nick Chubb as well.
He's laughing the whole way. Like, what did you guys think? Did you think of anything else, that I wasn't going to be the guy in the lead? You know what it reminded me of, guys? And this was funny, and it's going back quite a while. When the NBA first had their All-Star game here in Dallas, and I was working at the Dallas Times-Herald at the newspaper. I was covering that, and it was early, when they first started the dunk contest, and then the 3-point shooting contest, and I remember the story the guys told me. The 3-point shooters were all sitting in the locker room before they went out and did it, and Larry Bird walks in and looks around the room. He goes, okay. He goes, we know who's going to win this. I'm just trying to see who's going to be second, right? and that's the feeling I got with Parsons running that 40. Like, I know I'm going to win this. I don't know about the rest of you guys, right?
And you just wonder where he'll land up as well on the weight speed chart. Because I bet he's like right in the top corner.
And then the other thing is, and he was such a versatile athlete when he was in high school. And Bill Jones and I always talk about that. When you're looking at these draftable guys, give me a guy that's a multi-sport star, because then he's athletic. He's not just a football player. A lot of these guys played basketball. I think Mike would end up wrestling.
I think
that's always a nice trait to have. Gallimore was a heavyweight championship wrestler out of Kansas City when he was in high school. I like to see guys that play multiple sports because that means they've just got talent, athletic talent, and that's what he is. Now, can you find another one like that? I don't know.
Yeah, and by having those multi-skilled guys, you get to that ever elusive, positionless football that they keep talking about, trying to get to with your team.
And it helps. Look how it helped Trayvon Diggs, right?
Yeah,
he's a wide receiver now. He's a cornerback, but he's playing the ball like a wide receiver. And
we could go back to the Pro Bowl on that one where he's winning that loop-de-loop catch jump, whatever you want to call it, spectacular.
Oh yeah.
So you got
catches, right? Yeah,
absolutely. I know. I don't even think that. Oh, go on. Sorry,
a lot
Nicky.
of times guys are cornerbacks because they can't catch.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Coach says, "Okay, you're not a receiver. You go be a defensive back."
That's it. Yeah. You could get your hands on the ball. You just can't reel it in. Yeah.
Right.
But we got some questions for you. So obviously it's the draft series, but we've got the great Mickey Spagnola on, and you've forgotten more than we'll know. So we'll just leave it on that one. But the first thing we wanted to get to is a big rumor that's happening over here, and we need you to help us out with this. Right? Are the Cowboys coming to London?
Well, I know this side of the building wants to go for sure, right? Because when I saw, what the NFL was going to do, and knew the Cowboys had a game at Jacksonville, and I'm going, oh, okay, I missed that trip, right? And I gotta get back, right, before they retire me, and I got to get back to cover a game there. That was we were talking about it the other day. That was one of the greatest all-time weeks I think we ever had, because remember, we were able to do our podcast from out there. Sports Bar, I think.
The Sports Bar in Malibon,
a fancy name, right? Sports Bar, right? But
keep it simple, as they say.
It was great to have all the people there, and especially during your Saturday celebration, the charity event. I told guys, I got to go back because I spent a week there and I never paid for a beer myself.
Yeah, well, we spoke to Brian Broadus before about it, and he was like, "I'm not so sure." And I was like, "Well, don't you worry. We'll just come over. We'll kidnap you and bring you over."
Yeah, it would be great. And if you know what, and if we can't get that game, I was looking at all the other stuff. I said, I wouldn't mind going to Germany. That would be fun.
Yeah,
I know, and that might be blasphemous for you guys, but
no, not at all.
Another game in Europe would be really cool.
Yeah, like the reason we were trying to ask that because we're seeing a lot of a talk within the UK group fans, like not just UK Cowboys but all across, and with the NFL international marketing agreement that's just happened. Obviously, Dallas is assigned to Mexico.
Yeah.
Right? So, but with Jacksonville moving their home game to Wembley, so that means they had to cut contract ties with the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to get the bigger stadium.
I see.
That can mean many things. That can mean a better teams coming over. So, and that's why we're like, surely it's got to be us. But with the Germany one, I don't see that being Dallas at all, because obviously the German teams assigned to that is Tampa Bay, Kansas, Carolina. Who was the Bucks? The Bucks. I think I already mentioned them, did I not? But there's 4 teams associated to them, but we're just kind of want to see if you may have known any more inside scoop about regards to that.
The only thing I've heard is probably not Mexico this year.
Okay.
That's
good.
And the other thing is it has to be someone's away game, because
they're
not going to give up a home game. And even though they have the extra one this year, they'll have 9 home games out of the 17 after just 8 last year. I just don't think he's wanting to give that up, but he sure wouldn't mind being the visiting team, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So because when we're looking at it at the moment, I know it's cliche to say, but the stars are aligning.
Because for the past couple of days, our doubts have kind of been a wee bit dampened a little bit with the talks with the UK groups, and we're like,
But the fact you said it doesn't look like Mexico.
Yeah,
that's a bonus.
My ears back.
Yes, yeah, that's definitely.
See, that's why we needed you on here, Mickey.
Yeah. Like
now, don't hold me to that if it's
no, you are now. You are. I'm going to screen grab that, and I'm going to be like, right. Mickey Spagnola says.
Yeah.
But we've got also some other things we need you to help clarify so we can continue on with our draft season. So the first two big ones. Well, there's three actually. And we briefly spoke about before you started.
1, 2, 3.
I know. Yeah.
See, just unload. It's okay.
Yeah. I see. I'm too excited. As soon as I see Mickey Spagnola's face, I get too excited. Look. So, the big three are, and we'll start with the top two: is Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence in terms of being cut or traded. Where do you think that this is going to go? I feel that Tank is definitely one of the ones because of the costs and what you're getting out of him in terms of production. I know I particularly like his style of play, that it's not on the stat line what you get with DeMarcus Lawrence, but a lot of people will look at that and then equate that to the amount that they're spending. I think it's in the cards. He's going to get traded. But what about the pair of them, Amari Cooper or DeMarcus Lawrence? Do you think both will go or either one will go or none?
So to me, I can't qualify getting rid of either one of them. Now, you mentioned DeMarcus Lawrence, the stat line, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody remember he only played 9 games this year?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Now, say he's gone. Who's starting at left defensive end?
It'd be Golston.
Yeah. You good with that?
Exactly. What are we getting with it?
And what if you don't get Randy Gregory re-signed?
And now you've got to have Parsons over the other side.
And you don't want Parsons at defensive end.
No.
It wouldn't be Parsons. It'll be some other person that will probably end up drafting.
Or you end up using a first-round pick, right?
Yep,
or you got to go into free agency and spend money to bring in somebody not as good as either one of those guys.
Yeah.
Now, here's the third thing. He's got a $19 million base salary.
Mm-hmm.
He's also got $19 million in dead money.
Yeah.
And no one figures that in. So either all this year or part this year or part next year, you're going to spend $19 million to get rid of him. So to me, it's a wash.
I know, though, if you designate him a post
okay,
June
so it's
cut.
part this year and part next year.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
say
yeah.
It's 9 and 10. It's still $19 million for nothing.
Yeah.
All right. And I got to replace him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably my best run defender on the defensive line.
Yeah.
And what was one of their biggest problems in games they lost? They gave up 167 yards rushing to San Francisco in the playoff game. And now I'm going to get worse there?
Yeah.
Because whoever I get's not going to be better.
And I know how much of a fan you are of PFF, Mickey. He's actually graded one of the highest in run defense.
Yeah, and you don't need they're great. All you got to do is watch the game.
Watch the tape. That's it. Yeah, like
I don't need a stat. I can tell that he's awfully good on the line of scrimmage against the run, especially when he's chasing down the backside.
Yeah.
So it's not all about sacks. Everybody looks at sacks. There's more to this game than
absolutely.
Sacks.
Especially, I know that firsthand, Mickey, because I used to play defensive line. It's like
he used to eat a lot of peanut butter sandwiches.
He knows that if he didn't stop the run, he didn't get the opportunity to rush the quarterbak because they'll keep just running right at him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's simple. So now, Amari Cooper, $20 million base salary. I believe he's got this year, next year, he's got 2 more years on his contract.
Two. Yeah, it's 2. Do you want me to check?
I've got it written down here somewhere.
Yeah, no, I did as well, and I've lost my notes.
I just looked at it because I knew the question was coming, right? You got to anticipate your audience.
Well, yeah. But I mean, like the big one to me is the first point, because people talk about Amari Cooper's stats and all the rest of it. But the point I always make with Amari Cooper is don't just look at his stats. you've got to look at everybody else's. Because to me, Amari Cooper is the type of wide receiver that makes everyone else on the offense better, because he draws, he gets the overhang or the bracketed defensive safety, if you like, over the top of him, which means you're getting more one-on-ones on the other wide receivers / tight ends. So that's what it is for me with Amari Cooper. You can argue about, should a guy with that money be getting open more, free more, or targeted even more? Because he isn't targeted all that much.
Right.
And I think that was the big problem. But he makes everyone else on the offense better.
Absolutely.
Okay, so he's got 3 years left.
3, okay.
The base salaries are about all the same. And I'm going to give you the same argument for him as I'm going to give you for I gave you for DeMarcus Lawrence. Okay, get rid of him. Who is your wide receiver?
Yeah.
Give me 3 of them.
Yeah, well, I can give you the 3 that are left. It would be Lamb, Simi Fehoko, TJ Vasher.
Yeah.
And you've got 2 wide receivers there.
That remind you of the reason why they traded for Amari Cooper in, what was it, 2018?
That's
because
right.
it was going to be receiver by committee. Committee my butt, right? They ended up like, okay, we got to go get a wide receiver. Was it 27? I forgot which year it was.
It was 2018, yeah.
It was 18, right? And so, because you're not guaranteed Michael Gallup's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Your 4th receiver, Cedric Wilson, you can't guarantee he's coming back. He's unrestricted. And even
Noah
your
Brown's
5th
gone.
guy, Noah Brown, and Malik Turner.
Malik Turner.
You're going to cut. So now, if I don't have either one of those guys, I'm spending a 1st-round pick on a defensive end or a wide receiver. And I need a linebacker.
Yes. And a tight end.
And I don't have any money.
And you don't have any money. Yeah.
Right? So, they have to create room by restructuring contracts. They've been doing this. I don't know if they want to restructure his, but they're going to have to restructure Tanks. They're going to have to restructure Zach Martin's, probably Tyron Smith again, and Dak for sure. They built that into the contract, right?
Yeah.
This $20 million base salary is going to get restructured to probably $2 or $3 million, and because they put a voidable year in 2026, which will void, but it gives them 5 years to prorate whatever they give them as a restructure signing bonus this year. And so now say they restructure 15 million. All right. Well, it's going to be over 5 years. So it's just 3 million a year and extra. And remember, next year, the TV contract kicks in to the salary cap. So it's going to go way up. Like it's going up this year, not as much as it should have or would have, if not for last year, the COVID stuff. And then after that, it's going to continue going up. So you absorb those restructure bonuses as it goes along. So they're going to create money that way. I can't see creating money to get room to get worse, because without those 2 guys, to me, you get worse. And the defense wasn't good enough in the games they lost to say, oh yeah, we're right there. No, they're not right there. And they've got more problems on defense with all the linebackers and safeties. They're going to be unrestricted along with guys on the defensive line.
Yeah, and there's the other problem as well is safety. It always seems to be safety at the moment, though, with the Cowboys. That's an ongoing yearly conversation, that one. But it is crazy when you look at the wide receiver situation, and because again, like the linebacker, you cut Amari Cooper, that core, the cupboard's bare, and it's a scary prospect. And one of the things I always think of is, how do you help your defense? What's the best way to help your defense? We could talk about all the moving parts to a defense. It's very hard to replicate year by year, as you know, Mickey, with defenses. Offenses are a bit more easier to try and figure out. And I just think the easiest way to help your defense is keep the parts that keep your offense scoring, because then you make their offense, the opposing offense, when one-dimensional, helps your defense along the way. And that's just, for me, the most obvious way to help this team. And that's why keeping Amari Cooper and Schultz is the easiest way to go.
Mike, you're exactly right. And I think that, even the Schultz thing, everybody says, well, you got Jarwin. Well, okay, I do, but I don't know. Because
Yes.
he missed all of 2020. He was hurt some in 2021.
Yeah.
And so the way they've run their offense, you need two credible tight ends.
Exactly.
And you spend all this time with Schultz developing as a better blocker. I'm not saying he's a good blocker, but he's better than what he was. And so I just think people forget he had the second most catches, the third most yards, and he tied for the most touchdown receptions.
Yeah.
And you got to spend some money there. Somebody could get franchised. Schultz would be like
that was why I was coming today.
Yeah. And so, you could possibly do that. Now, Randy Gregory would be a lot more. So the key thing with those guys is you got to do something to try to sign them to contract extensions, to try to get them re-signed for multi-year deals, because then with the signing bonus you can give them, it's prorated. You can give them the amount of money that they would make in a franchise tag in the first year, but at least the signing bonus will be prorated over 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And that's the way you got to look at it, as just this year. See,
yes.
Like last year, everybody's like, oh, Dak's going to average $40 million a year. Well, they restructured it last year. They restructured it again this year, and he's not counting a lot until the third year when the cap goes back up, we assume. So there's a lot of different ways to do this than just simply saying, okay, I'm cutting this base salary, I'm cutting that base salary, yet I'm incurring dead money along the way.
And my argument as well, I think I was talking to Brad Sham about it a couple of weeks back, is that I also, when we talk about the Schultz thing, I'm fed up with the historical trend of the Dallas Cowboys of drafting a tight end, spending all that time developing him, getting him to a certain point where he's not just playable, he's a credible starter. They're not signing him and releasing him off into the NFL.
Jeff Swain
is one of them,
right?
Yeah,
the guy's still playing with Tennessee, and he's a starter.
You could go all the way back to Bennett.
Yeah. So I just think they need to add to the tight end spot, because I think that they need a guy that can be more of a blocker, right? And you saw what they ended up doing this year. They ended up using the offensive lineman to either be a tight end or a second tight end or a fullback. With Connor McGovern. So,
damn it! You just reminded me. I lost a bet with Rob Phillips.
What's that?
We lost the bet, Paul. We made a bet with Rob Phillips that Connor McGovern would score a touchdown.
Oh,
do you remember?
Aaron Steele's.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and he was just like, I don't know. And actually, Hackma spoke about it on their show. He was like, "You've made a bet," and Rob was like, "Oh yeah," and it got really close.
There was a play that he looked at McGovern. He was one of the top options, and then he came off of him and threw the other way.
Yeah, he was clapping his hands.
Yeah, he had it right. So anyway, the more we talk, it's like, okay, this was a 12-5 team, won a division title, turned around from 6-10. Okay, next year it's going to be better, but they got a lot of ways to go to get better, because they can't 100%. Keep the same team together.
Exactly.
I think that was as well. We were speaking with RJ from Blogging the Boys, and we were saying that I think a lot of the frustration when the Cowboys lost to the 49ers is a lot of the fans are seeing that this was a talented team they had in 2021. And it's not going to be emulated in 2022. You could even argue about 2023 as well. That there is, as you say, a long way to go for the Cowboys to get back to that point again, because that was a star-studded team. And everything right the way down as close as you can to the bone. That this roster's been stripped down from that, and I think that's the biggest frustration.
And there's a couple of things that I think got lost, and a lot of us are guilty of this, going 12-5.
Yeah.
But if you look at the 12 wins and you look at the 5 losses, the 5 losses all came to, other than Denver. And I still look at Denver as one of those things. The other 4 losses came to very credible teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the playoffs, another credible team that, by the way, went on the road to Tampa Bay and won.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
True.
So, you know, shame on you for losing at home, but they beat Tom Brady. So there was something to that San Francisco thing. And I was just when I saw your email pop up, I was just looking at the takeaways and the takeaway difference between the games they won and the games they lost.
Yeah.
So I think the games they won, they had 7 takeaways. The games they lost, they had 27. I mean, the other way around. The games they lost, they had 7. The games they won, they had 27.
27.
So, and in the games they lost, they finished a -1 in takeaways. So it showed you when they played the top quarterbacks, when they played the top teams, they didn't fare as well, right? I mean, they beat New England on the road. Good win, right?
That was impressive.
But the other maybe impressive win was going to Minnesota without Dak. But that's it.
Yeah, agree.
So again, I think we were probably all guilty of being a little too giddy about the number 12 and not about who they beat.
The context of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the defense too, because I think, you know, we were, that's defense is all that. Well, they were, except in the games they lost.
Yeah, because a lot of people argue about the 49ers team, about, you know, 49ers team, the 49ers game in the playoffs, and saying how the Cowboys didn't score enough. And you could argue the other way around. Well, the defense let the 49ers score too easily.
Yes, and not only that, but if you think about the fourth quarter, you know, I think I added it up that they allowed San Francisco in their last 2 possessions to possess the ball for 6 to 7 minutes.
Yeah.
The Cowboys could have used that time, right? Could have used another 2 seconds of that time to at least get one more throw at the end zone.
Exactly.
So it's not always about the points, and it's not always about the yards. It's about stopping them when I need a stop. And they had 2 chances to stop them, and they couldn't do it. Get them off the field on 3 and outs.
That's right. Yeah. And I think me and Paul, we were talking, and I was like saying, look, they need to do this. It's on the defense right now. I know that the offense failed to play as well, but I was like, look, it's going to be, this is the play. If they don't do it, it's all over. And sure enough, like you say, 3 and out. Nope. They go and convert again.
It's frustrating.
It is. I like it. You put that right.
Don't feel bad, Paul. It's frustrating for them too.
And it's frustrating as well for people like you, Mickey, that then have to write about it all up the next day or the same day as it is sometimes. But here's the next rumor I want you to try and help us out with.
All right.
Lyle Collins being traded because you have Terrence Steele as a replacement who was emerging quite soundly. And if you make him a post-June 1 cut, you will save $10 million on the cap.
Yeah, but next year you're going to get hit.
You get hit again, yeah,
of course. 13, almost $14 million in dead money.
Yes. Yeah, 15 and a bit.
You may have to restructure him.
Is that where you think is going to go? Is Lyle's going to be on a restructure as opposed to a trade, do you think?
Well, the trade and a cut is the same thing.
I suppose, yeah, you're right there, yeah.
And what are you going to get for him after the year he had?
Not much.
Yeah.
You're going to get a starter? Now I need another tackle. Now, Terrence Steele, okay, he probably played the best of the tackles this year.
Agree, yeah.
I agree.
I agree with you there.
I agree.
Going to the Pro Bowl, but he probably played the best of the tackles. So I know you probably can rely on him. But after that, now I need the third guy. And so, yeah, you know, everybody looks at the cap. They just need to restructure and they might have to, if they want him back and think that he had a down year because of this or that, then restructure his contract. And his base salary, ends up being
on a restructure
$10 million base, right? But again, and I forgot this on Amari Cooper, they got to make that decision 5 days into the new league year, because on the 5th day, March 20th, his contract guarantees.
Yeah.
And with La'el Collins, 6.48 of his base salary of $10 million is guaranteed on the 5th day also. So again, you will have to make those decisions without knowing what you're going to do in free agency if you get rid of them, right? And you have to make them not knowing what's going to happen in the draft. You can't wait to June 1st and say, oh, let's trade him.
Let's do it now.
It doesn't work that way, because he's going to have guaranteed money plus the money that he's already prorated. So again, by March 20th, some of these decisions have to be made.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Because here's the next one is about, and it ties in with the Amari Cooper conversation, was CeeDee Lamb with the expectations. And it is crazy when we were looking at, and we were watching your report as well during training camp, how CeeDee Lamb, he was blowing it out the water, making spectacular catches like we saw against Minnesota, those crazy catches. Then all of a sudden it seemed to be the year hit or the season, and he stalled. Do you think that's down to play calling, Dak's injuries, or do you think he just got swamped, if you like?
Well, I never looked at him as a number one receiver.
I'm with you.
That started to be the thing in training camp. Oh, he's the number one receiver because he's making all these spectacular catches. Well, to be the number one receiver, you have to be consistent, right? You can't make this circus catch and then drop 2 other balls during the game.
Exactly.
And he did have a few too many drops. And that was his problem his rookie year. And he's better coming out of the slot, right? I think.
Yes, I agree.
He's a guy that you give the ball
How many teams have a number one receiver that just lines up in the slot? And not many. You got to be able to do it on the outside. That's why to me, they've got to get lucky with Michael Gallup. They've got to hope that the free market out there says, I don't know that I can give him a big time long-term deal coming off a torn ACL.
Yeah.
And knowing at this point, because he just had the surgery, I want to say a week ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't he not due back to be October time?
So give me 8 months at the minimum.
Yeah.
Right?
So he's going to miss.
What does that get me to?
Yeah, because he's going to miss training camp.
Yeah, he's going to miss the beginning of training camp for sure. And so
if
you can get lucky there, and depending on how good his agent is, if he's not getting the money they think he deserves, Cowboys get him back on a 1 year, I don't know, $5-6 million deal with incentives, and keep him for another year, and then see what happens after that.
Yeah.
But to me, I think they need him. They need at least 2 of those guys back, right? Even if I keep Amari Cooper, I would like Gallup back, and I would like to get Cedric Wilson back. But I would imagine
Cedric Wilson for sure.
Looks at Cedric Wilson and say, "Hey, I think this guy can be a second, third receiver in my rotation, and a very good gadget guy on special teams."
Yeah, he has a perfect quarterback rating as well,
and he's a good guy. He's a good team guy.
Yeah.
So again, somebody asked me the other day, and I wrote it in my column yesterday. It's like, what are the Cowboys up to now? I said, well, they're sitting there cracking their knuckles like, okay, what am I going to do? And crunching numbers, because they got to figure this stuff out here in 20 days.
Yeah. Like I was saying with Cedric Wilson, there you go. It was Cedric Wilson throwing. He has a perfect completion rating.
Yeah, right.
So he is a full gadget guy.
And if he would have just thrown it one more time in 2020 on that fake punt,
I remember.
Perfect.
Can you imagine? But yeah, I mean, because I'm all about versatility. That's the thing I'm in for at the moment. But we'll get to the most controversial ongoing subject with the Cowboys is the safety position. Then I got a question for you. So yeah, there are some rumors, mind you. I don't know if you can fill in the gaps for us here. Jaron Curse is likely to be coming back, is what I heard today. Is that they are looking to 100? The rumors are anyway that he is coming back. Is that true?
Well, I don't think anybody knows, and this is why I hate this time of year. Everybody's throwing mashed potatoes on the wall, and they're just hoping something fits, right? The reason that came up is he did an interview recently, I think on one of the radio stations, and he said, "Yeah, I'd like to come back because I see how they used me, and this has been my first opportunity to be used in that manner, and really liked how Dan Quinn used him." I'm sure they would like him back, but again, there are 31 other teams out there that saw this, right? It's not just us three. And they saw what he did, and somebody might say, yeah, you know what? I can use that guy. I'm going to give him I don't know, say they're going to give him a 3-year, $25 million deal. The Cowboys can't deal with that.
Yeah.
There's no way they can pay a safety $8 million a year. Even with a big signing bonus. I'll give you an example. What just happened the other day with Anthony Hitchens. The Chiefs let him go, right? Well, the Cowboys liked him. They would have had him back, but they signed him to a 5-year, $45 million deal with more than 20 guaranteed. And now that he was going to charge $12.2 million against their cap, they're like, love you, Anthony, but can't afford you.
Yeah.
And they let him go and got stuck with $4 million in dead money. So, you like these guys, you'd like to keep them, but this is free agency. I always like to remind my friends from way back when they were all, in favor of free agency. And it was like, be careful what you wish for, because you're going to see a lot of turnover, and certainly started in '94.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could go back to the, you can liken it, if you like, to the Robert Quinn situation from just 2 years ago, that he has a great 1 year with the Cowboys, and people are saying, we've got to bring him back. And the Dolphins turn around and go, yeah, we'll offer you $80 million. And the Cowboys are like, yeah, we can't afford you.
Yeah. And then he ends up in Chicago and ends up having not his first year, but the second year, he had a really good year.
Yeah.
And they had to be careful with him because there were some people that thought that he was just chasing sacks, like he didn't care about the run, that all he was doing was hunting sacks. And well, he was pretty good at it. But it was pretty good on a so-so team.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to the DeMarcus Lawrence talk because he's drawing the double block.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And hey, go back to would the Cowboys like a do-over on DeMarcus Ware? They thought he was breaking down, that he was starting to have this injury and that injury, and it was like, okay, and it's getting costly. We better release him early before it's too late. And then he has 3 more good seasons with Denver.
And gets a Super Bowl ring.
And should have been in the Hall of Fame.
We agree.
He'll get in next year. They were just doing a cleanup this year on some of the guys that were in jeopardy of going into the back of the line as the seniors. Although I couldn't sell Everson Walls on that the other day. Don't be telling me about the back of the line.
Yeah, we got a chance to speak to DeMarcus Ware once. Actually, it was me and you, Paul. Do you remember that? It was the really bad game where you were talking with
the Cardinals game. It was the Cardinals game.
Yeah, that was really fun. I'll send you a video clip of that. You will laugh. We're on a Channel 5 program over here where they talk about the NFL, about the live game.
Okay. And Morris Jones-Drew was presenting it.
And
so you guys do this once a week?
This show?
Yes.
Yes.
Or every day, once a week. Okay.
And so we're talking on in the Cardinals game, and just as Paul's in his spiel of talking about the Cowboys, there's like 100-yard rushing touchdown.
Yeah, just to kill off the game. and I was literally trolled on national television that day.
That was funny. That was
Yeah.
funny. I still have the clip. It's saved on my phone, in
great.
fact. So, but yeah, I mean, the other one I was going to talk about are the other safeties, but I don't know about you. For me personally, Curse is a good one because he's that tight end killer role, which I like because the tight end being that at the moment, the position that can be best utilized in the way the defenses are evolving. But I quite like the thought of keeping Malik Hooker as well because of what you were starting to get. You were starting to see something, that center field position that you can get from Hooker with Donovan Wilson playing in the box. But what about you, Mickey? Are you going down that road, or do you want to see what
again
turns out?
All those guys between Keanu Neal, Curse, KZ, Hooker, it's all going to come down to market value. What do other people think they're worth? Because if I'm spending my money, I'm spending it on a defensive end, right? I'm spending it on a wide receiver. I'm spending it on a linebacker. I'm going to need a defensive tackle. Oh, by the way, I think.
Yeah.
And so
certainly a one tack.
Yeah. Although, I'm sure they have still hopes for Bohanna. You've got Gallimore and Odigizua, but I don't think either one of those are like, space eaters that can be that one technique, because the other guy is a free agent, right?
Yeah. Brent Urban.
No, not Urban. Well, he is, but the other guy,
Watkins. Watkins, Carlos Watkins.
He's a free agent.
Yeah.
So I'm guilty usually of devaluing the safety position. I just don't know that you get enough bang for your buck.
Yeah, I get the reasons
with the safety. And so, like Hooker, nice. Everybody said, well, yeah, he was starting to play well. Okay, the interception he got at the end of the year, it basically threw it to him, right? It wasn't like anything fancy. So I was a little disappointed in him. And I understand he was coming back from a torn Achilles. I know enough about that, how hard it is to come back from that. But it was all this, well, he was a first round pick and that was 2017. It's 2022 now.
Yeah.
So again, market value. And these guys, they're going to be, they'll be searching. And I'll guarantee you, while, they're not supposed to have agents aren't supposed to have contact with other teams until 2 days before the start of the league year. Yes, they're doing it right now.
Yeah. Michael, just to add on top what you just kind of said there, regards to obviously with Malik Hooker being 2017, now it's 22. This kind of goes back to what I normally kind of say regards to the draft process. It's like it's an actual lottery. You just don't know till you get the player in your system and see what happens, because you can see all these players go in the first round and give it 3 years, you never heard of them again, for example. So it's like and you might get players absolute steal in the later rounds, like for example Tony Romo, for example, like he was undrafted and became one of the best Cowboys we've had in recent years.
So and it's not an exact science, right?
I agree,
obviously, and that's why I don't like this idea of, okay, I'm going to get rid of this guy and I'll just replace him in the draft.
Yeah.
Well, there's no guarantee. Even if you've got a high pick, that doesn't mean he's going to replace that guy. You know what you got. And so, there's too many people that want to play GM. They don't have to suffer the consequences of a bad decision.
Yeah, one of the best ones was obviously the whole Tackle Charlton, TJ Watt scenario. It's just like, I was like, well, yeah, I can understand why, but if we were to draft TJ Watt, would he be better suited within our system at the time, or would he be even better suited in the Pittsburgh system?
Because he's a 3-4 guy.
He's an odd front. So it may have not worked out with TJ if we did draft him. So it's like you just don't know.
Right. And you understand their thinking, because they're in a 4-3 and he would have to play with his hand on the ground. Now, obviously does that in nickel situations, but they're not running at him usually in a nickel situation. And so
there you go.
Once again, it's, sacks can cloud reality.
The full
That's all
plethora
you're
of
looking
play.
at, right?
Yeah. So I know we got you for the hour, and we're coming up to that. So
well, I was late, so take your time.
See, that's why we love you, Mickey. That's why we love you. At this rate, mate, we'll be getting you back on for another 24-hour show. So don't be saying that.
Oh, okay.
No, don't, no,
24 hour. 24-hour show.
Yeah, we're not doing another 24-hour show. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be the next question now is, Mickey Spagnola, you are the GM of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, okay. Jerry Jones has heard you on the radio. He likes what he thinks, and he signed you to the GM role. The Cowboys are there at 24. Who's Mickey Spagnola taking?
Oh gosh,
yeah.
I wish I can give you. What is it? We're not even March yet, right?
No, we're in a vacuum right now, mate.
Right. I can give you. I can give you
version one. Give me a version one.
Yeah. Right? Because I know I'm going to need a linebacker.
Yeah.
I may need a defensive end.
Yeah.
I may need a wide receiver. I may need a tight end. And a lot of that'll come down to positional value.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when teams look at a guy, it might be a safety, but they're going, well, that safety just doesn't need to make that much money, or I don't need that high a capital for a safety. I can get him in the second or third round. And oh, by the way, what's the other part of this team that needs to improve? The offensive line, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think
so
I've
seen some of these mock drafts giving him a guard. I don't want a guard that's a guard. If he's a tackle that can play guard, then eventually go back to tackle. I'm good with that. If it's a center, I'm trading down like they did with Travis Frederick, right? Down to, I think he was 31st or something. And then I got something for my trouble.
What about the other way about a guard that can play tackle rather than a tackle that can play guard? Like
usually a guard is a guard because he couldn't play tackle in college.
Right.
Or he's not big enough.
That's usually the way. Now, Zach Martin probably would be the exception, right?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Which, by the way, you guys, it brought me back watching Aaron Donald play in the playoffs, Super Bowl, to that 2014 Senior Bowl, because two things occurred. No one could beat Zach Martin in their one-on-one drills that year, except for Aaron Donald. And the only guy that could block Aaron Donald was Zach Martin. It was one of the great one-on-one shows I think I've ever seen at the Senior Bowl. And as it turned out, both of them are going to end up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, right?
Easily.
Yeah.
The guy's unbelievable. And to me,
it doesn't even make sense.
He had my vote for a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
He won the game his last two plays.
Agree.
But too many times, everybody, again, where we started, they look at the stats, the final line. Instead of, what did you see?
Domination.
So, yes.
You did, yeah.
So, it's a long way of getting around to your question about the position.
No, it's fine. No, you go.
They got a lot of things they need. Now it comes down to, well, okay, what's best? Because I'm going to need a linebacker too.
Yeah.
I don't know what Leighton Vander Esch's market value is going to be. I don't know if they can even come close to it, right? But towards the end of the year, the last third of the year, he was pretty darn good.
I said that.
They wasted too much time with Jalen, who was stumbling around, doing nothing, and at the expense of Vander Esch. And so, again, you got to be able to stop the run, and you can't do it with Keanu Neal out there because they're going to run right at him.
I can't. I don't see.
It's a nice idea, but I'm not sure how well it executed.
Yeah, I'm not up for Neal coming back. It looked okay to begin with, and as the season drew on, I weren't happy. But I was happy to see Van Der Esch. As you watch it, I'm with you. And I said this in the season, that Van Der Esch, game by game towards the end of the season, was getting, that motor was starting to perk up a bit and starting to pick up, and it was looking much better.
I mean, see for like myself, like I've seen a couple of mock drafts from NFL analysts and stuff like that, and we're seeing like Kenyon Drake from Texas A&M getting popped up with the Kobe Dean, the linebacker.
I've seen the linebacker thing.
Yeah, if we got him, then I'll be happy with that, you know. Like, but I'm really now this year especially best player available. Get him. Like,
yeah, you know what? Just get me one of those guys off Georgia's defense, and I'll be happy.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with any of them.
The big guy in the middle.
You've got
the whole defensive line.
You've got a Penn State guy and Micah Parsons, and then you've got a guy from Georgia. You know it's going to be absolutely chaotic,
right?
Yeah. No, I do like the thought of Jordan Davis, the Georgia guy. That makes me happy.
Yeah, but again, he's a defensive tackle, right? And I don't know if they'll spend a first on that guy, but boy, he sure disrupted that game.
Oh God, yeah, I'm with you as well. Yeah, positional value is the trouble because he's not versatile at all. He literally is your one tech. You're not going to be moving him around, up and down the line at all.
Who's the Cincinnati defensive tackle is coming out the draft?
Who's that?
The Cincinnati defensive tackle. I think he's projected to be like a second rounder.
But Majay Sanders.
Oh God, I can't remember his
Cincinnati.
name. Oh God, I think it's Cincinnati. Let me just double check. I'll look it up while we continue on. It's going to do my head then.
We'll keep talking for a while. You'll find it.
I'll find it.
But see, and you know what happens with a lot of these mock drafts is they're not putting guys in slots from knowledge of what the team's going to do.
Yeah,
they're just looking at the needs and saying, okay, this team's at 22. They need this. I'll give them that guy to make their drafts work, right?
Yeah.
They don't have inside knowledge.
No. And the generic rankings.
And if anybody in any team is talking now, they're lying.
Yeah. I said it's the lion season now.
Yes.
I've got the name now. It's not Cincinnati, it's Connecticut. It was Travis Jones. That's what I was talking about.
Oh, Travis Jones. Yes. I do like him.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, he is disruptive. And the good thing is you can wait into day 2 for a guy like him.
Yeah.
So now you're talking positional value with draft value as well. So
if that's one thing, if that's one thing I feel like the Cowboys have done really well in the past good 6-7 years is getting positional value for players in the later rounds. I think how we got Jabril Cox in the 4th round is beyond me. Like I thought he would have been gone by the 2nd.
Yeah. And here's the funny bit is with the Nation Wright pick, which was the pick before, and the Jabril Cox one, people were complaining, and I was like, well, what if you switched those picks? Would you be happy with that? And people are like, yeah. And it's like, well, there you go then.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see what he does in his 2nd year.
Yes.
He gets a full, I mean, you saw the difference in Trayvon Diggs from his first year. And I'm not saying, I could see he was going to get 11 interceptions, right? but he was better. He was a lot better. He made less rookie mistakes. And so, a 2nd round pick, right?
Yeah.
3rd round pick, Gallimore, good player. Odigizua, 3rd round pick. So if you can hit on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th guys at that rate, you're doing a pretty good job. It's not just about the 1st round pick.
Yeah, well, Donovan Wilson's a day 3 pick.
And not just that, Mickey. In terms of the future, it wouldn't have much of a major impact when it comes to the cap as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you got to make hay. Those guys have to be able to step up. And I think the other day, Jerry Jones mentioned. He mentioned 2 young guys that'll have to step up, and he mentioned Nahshon Wright.
Yeah,
and he mentioned not Chauncey. The young safety.
Israel Mukuamu.
Yeah, Mukuamu. That was the other guy he mentioned.
And
he said, when you're cap strapped, the Wrights and Mukuamus have to be able to step up and fill in.
And the thing is, we were quite excited about the McCormick pick because that is definitely a Dan Quinn pick. That's the type of thing he was looking for in that draft. And
I wonder if he could be like Curse if indeed.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
the length to be able to do it.
Yes.
That's for sure. But that's what we wrote a big article on both Nation Wright and Israel Mukwamu, and that was the big one, was the reach and the length and the versatility.
Yeah. Yeah, and they got panned for the right one, right? And it's like, okay, well, they must have saw something, So and it turned out, and he was pretty good in training camp. Then it was a little bit over his head when the season started, but
a little bit.
I
think it was unlucky as well, mind. I don't know what you think on that.
Keep your eye on him and see. And he learned a few good lessons about covering downhill. And don't be throwing your hands up like, oh, no, I didn't touch him. Run the guy over and let the official make that decision.
And punt coverage as well. But that was unlucky. I feel that was an unlucky play.
But he made up for it, right?
He did. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Literally like, not very long after, in fact. Yeah. So I'm trying to remember.
By the way, so are you guys good with the kicker?
Oh, that's another thing.
There we go.
Wait, can I ask the question, Mike?
Yeah, go for it.
Right, so throughout the whole draft, do you think we might actually draft a kicker this year?
I'd be scouting them.
It depends on who the guy is, right? In 6th, 7th round, I could see taking a chance on a guy, because they're pretty valuable these days, especially when they lengthen out the extra point, right?
Yeah.
And if you can find a guy that's automatic on that, it just seems like just when you were ready to get rid of the guy, right? And you're like, okay, I've had it. I don't want, and I was trying to look up his numbers, but it's like, okay, I can't put up with Zerline, and then he'll make a 52-yard game winner walk off, right?
Yeah. And we don't want another Brett Maher.
No. And by the way, he just got released. He's available if you.
No, you know what that means. Then you know what that means.
The Saints let him go.
But funnily enough, you mentioned that. I literally on Monday and Tuesday, I was sat here watching kickers from college. I was like, I'm gonna have to do it. I need to be aware of who's who.
Yeah,
we're going to have to. Like, I think we're going to have to start scouting kickers now.
Or at least
I have been.
Conversation,
legitimate competition.
Yeah,
because he didn't kick the whole training camp, right?
That's right.
And so there was no real competition. There was no real pressure.
And correct me if I'm wrong as well, Mickey. Like for Zerline, he's actually on quite a big contract for a kicker within the team. Is he right?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was somewhat reasonable, but for a kicker, it was a veteran guy. It was a little bit more maybe than you expected. Yeah.
And his base salary for this season will be 2.2.
0.2?
2.2, yeah.
2.2. I was going to guess 2. Okay. Yeah. And so, but I would just like to see some legitimate competition.
Mm-hmm.
Earn the job. Just don't assume, okay, it's yours.
Yeah. Go on, Paul. I know you've got a question. I've got one last question from the mailbag from somebody that sent in, which I know Mickey is going to love this, but I'll let you take the floor.
It was just a kind of follow, because we thought we were going to get a little bit of competition this year with Forbath. We brought him back.
We always bring him back.
I don't know why, but it's for competition. So we seem to bring him back, then we just release him within 2 weeks later. What's the point? So it's like, but I'm completely on board. It's like we completely need to get a kicker for pure competition and get the best guy available in the team.
Hey, and am I right? The punter's free?
Oh no, is he
or not?
Well, Brian Anger?
Sure. No,
Brian Anger? No, Anger's
Anger. They signed him to a 2-year deal.
Let me check for you.
Oh God,
I think he is. I think he is a free agent. I think you're right. If I remember, I'm going to find the list of free agents, and Brian Anger is on there.
Oh, we need to get him back. He
was awfully good, right?
He was awesome.
Yeah. And don't forget, he was like a 3rd round pick.
And a veteran that had been in the league all these years.
Yeah.
They basically just counted on Fossil to kind of vouch for him.
Yeah.
By the way, for all the grief he catches, I don't know if you guys saw this. I had this note in my column, I think it was last week, special teams. Rick Goslin, who used to work at the Dallas Morning News, does his special teams ranking. The Cowboys ended up 6th this year in total points. And a lot of it had to do with the punting, the net average, the starting field position, and their ability to return kickoffs too, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, that is one thing, I will say for Greg Zuerlein. A lot of people work because there's a piece that people only, again, this is going back to stats and not watching the game. With Greg Zuerlein, people will go missing the kicks, missing the extra point. All right. But one thing people don't watch with kickers is kickoffs.
Yeah.
And Greg Zuerlein does do a good kickoff. I will give him that.
Until sometimes they try to get fancy to kick it short on purpose to pin him back there. And then takes it the length of the field.
To do that weird like bomb kick that they try and put in, and it all goes to pot. Yeah, I'm with you there. But here's a question for you that came up, and I brought it up because I knew this will get you riled up, like you used to in the good old days, where you'd have the Mickey moment.
They got mellow,
Yeah. We just wind it up and let it go. But one of the questions is given the problems that we have this year with the O-line, does it make you regret picking Parsons rather than Rashawn Slater?
No.
I'm with you.
There'll be another Slater in the draft next year or the year. It's like how much capital, meaning draft capital, can you spend on one positions, right? You already had basically 2 first-round picks on your offensive line, and really a third with La'el Collins, just because how you ended up paying him, right?
Yeah. And drafting him as well.
And you had a second-round pick. And so, it's like you can't just keep doing that. Okay, that's fine. Where would that defense have been without Micah Parsons? And again, they weren't the greatest. I mean, in total yards, they finished 19th. And the reason that looked great was because they were so bad in points allowed last year. I mean, I think they gave up almost 100 points less this year than last year. So, great. The defense is great. Well, okay, it was better. It wasn't great. And it needed to be average, and they were just a little less than average. Better against the run. They finished 16th when the year before they were 31st.
Last.
So yeah. No, I think what they did with Parsons, they got more than they could have asked for that they would have gotten from a defensive tackle.
Yeah,
an offensive tackle. Excuse me.
I mean, like Rashawn Slater was never going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, and here we are with the Defensive Rookie of the Year, and I think that speaks more volumes than anything else. I know we're talking an offensive lineman, and he's never, getting Offensive Rookie of the Year is never going to happen.
Well, think about it. Without Parsons, who was playing linebacker?
There you go. We would definitely have kept Jalen Smith.
Yeah, you would have had to.
Yeah. And my argument with Jalen Smith, I don't know what you think of this, and I know this is a controversial subject with him, but I always say Jalen Smith isn't a bad linebacker. He's just in the wrong era. That's how I think of it.
Probably so.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure what he made this great comeback. It's a great story from where he was. But I just think the more he played, the more he got exposed by offense. Because they understood what he couldn't do.
His limitations,
Yes.
Exactly.
I think the biggest one was his lateral speed. That was his biggest one. Like he could run downfield, no problem, but when it comes to change the direction, no, that was the problem.
Or going backwards. He just needed to go forward all the time.
It's just
and I think a lot of it, and I know we've gone way off tangent, and we're talking Jalen Smith, but after this, we'll let you go. But I just think, like the rookie years are very important in terms of development. And a lot of his, in terms of development, was spent rehabbing. So that's why he looks so clunky and so slow, is that by the time he's got to where he needed to be, he's had not enough time trying to develop.
Yeah. And again, like I said, great story.
100%.
He just kind of rubbed people the wrong way, and I think that's what kind of got people, kind of on his downside. So,
wearing a 9.
Yeah, I mean, I've met Jalen personally. I thought he was a great guy and stuff, but I could tell he was more into his self-image in terms of marketing and stuff like that than rather than putting full focus on football.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a fair statement.
That's pretty good for being a couple thousand miles away.
Yeah. You think like spend less time with the fans and more time in the gym.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I'm good. I'm with you on that.
But we are going to let you go, Mickey. Let you go.
Well, just know that you're not taking up too much of a time, because I don't know if you knew what the weather was here.
Have you?
It's cold. It rained. It froze, and no one's going anywhere. So,
well,
I bet you could host the Winter Olympics.
I'm basically here until hopefully I can get to the Star tomorrow to do Mix Shots podcast.
Mix Shots.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel better, Mickey, right outside, there's about 6 inches of snow outside in Scotland.
I would rather see 6 inches of snow than a half an inch of ice.
True. Right? Yeah, I mean,
true. They had, I think, here I go off subject, but yesterday in Dallas proper, I think 300 calls for accidents. Wow. 300, right? And people just won't slow down. Texans got to go fast, right? They ain't slowing down for nothing. And they're just sliding in, like it's a skating rink. Because when I went out this morning, the low part of my driveway was melted, but when I started going uphill, it was frozen. And I got to the street and it was frozen. I could have slid on it. So at least people, I think, have stayed home.
Well, lucky for you, you've done all that skiing, so that should help you.
Yeah, but I got my my shoes on, not my skis. There actually, you guys, one year it snowed enough here and it got packed down that we went down the street and basically played catch with our hockey sticks. Puck was sliding perfectly.
Do you still go away every winter and still do your skiing?
Yes, as a matter of fact, pretty soon go skiing again. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I was listening to your conversations about your skiing expeditions.
Yeah,
just a random question. You ever been to Whistler Mountain up in Canada?
Yes, one of my favorite places. Right?
They've got some of the best beer breweries over there, hands down.
I'll tell you what, between Whistler and Blackcomb and just kind of that area, and the neat part is they get a lot of snow, but it's not because of altitude. When we go to Colorado, the base is at 9,000 feet. I think the top of the mountains there at Whistler are about 5,000 or 6,000. And so you don't get that altitude effect, but you get a lot of snow because of their relationship to the ocean there. But that's
north they are.
That was one of my all-time trips going to Whistler. I love Canada. As a matter of fact, I think half the people I met there were from England, by the way.
We don't get skiing snow here. That's the trouble.
Everybody was talking about holiday, and I go, how long you here for? A month. And it's like, oh man, I need that.
Yeah, but we are doing this year a draft show. So if you get a chance, I know you might be busy, but we'll shoot you a message, see what you're up to.
Sure, I enjoy doing it. Just count on it. Just let me know when.
Yeah,
maybe by the time April rolls around, I'll have another Micah Parsons in my mind.
Oh yes, there we go, and we'll need that. We'll need that from you. We'll need the Mickey hot take for sure.
Absolutely.
But we're doing all 3 days this year. We've got the advert which is dropping today. So we will send you a message and see which one of the days you're free to talk with us for 5-10 minutes. Because I know during the draft itself, you guys are extremely busy.
Yeah, absolutely. And who knows, when we get closer to that draft, we might get closer to that schedule, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and we'll be finding out how many crates of ale we need to get in.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah. But there we go, mate. We'll leave you go, and we'll wrap things up ourselves here and finish things off and pay the bills with the sponsors. And we'll speak to you later on as we get closer to the draft.
Enjoying being with you, Mike and Paul. You guys are great, and appreciate your knowledge from being that far away.
That's only because of people like you, Mickey.
Well, appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much. And stay safe over there.
Sure thing.
Take care, man.
Bye now.
The great and powerful Mikey Spagnola, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. See, you got to get somebody on like him just to pick his brains.
See, and I'm so glad that we asked him the question in regards to London now. I'm so glad that, because like the fact that he said not likely to be Mexico, that's the big one. That is the big one, because like that just increases that if he thinks that's the case within Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys headquarters, that is a big thing for us, and he knows everyone would love to go back to London. So I think if the whole staff are kind of in that mindset about going to London, that is now just kind of like from having that wee dive of we're not
coming back up again.
Coming back up again.
Yeah.
So
gives you something to talk about on Sunday too. Now you can mention that.
I have literally just messaged Meg about that right now. So,
hey, there's somebody we need to get on for draft day.
Oh no, she'll come on.
There you go. I'll try and get hold of Kelsey as well. See if she'll come on. But yeah, should we get the bills paid and then drop the big news?
Oh yeah, drop. Yep, definitely.
This is exciting. All right then, guys. So we are obviously going to start wrapping things up, but stay with us because we got the big draft day advert.
Yeah, we've got the trailer.
Yeah, and we will. It's a hype video advert trailer. We will drop it independently as well. But before we do that, guys, we'll pay the bills. Cowboys Experience. Yes, if you're going to a game this year, make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. They have meet and greets, tailgate pies, game day packages, and everything that you could need to go to a game. And make sure if you do go and book it through Cowboys Experience, you let them know UK Cowboys sent you. Because what happens there, Mr. Paul?
You get free stuff.
You get a load of free stuff. And also, make sure you give all these guys on the screen a follow. Most of them you'll know, but they are all great people. People we like, we enjoy, we've spoken to, had on the show. Maybe we can get some of them during the draft show as well. Start making inroads into that. I've got so much to do. So much to do in so little time.
Yeah, I need to start prepping my material for Sunday's show with Meg as well. So
go on, drop it. Come on, drop it. Drop it.
Well, yeah, guys, as you know, me and Meg Murray from Girls Talking Boys for Blogging the Boys, SB Nation, we've got our own show called The World's Team, which is now available every Sunday, which is on Spotify and on Apple iTunes. So be sure to go and give it a wee check, go and follow the channel, and show some love for Blogging the Boys.
Yeah, and to finish the show off,
do you want me to do the honors?
Go on then. I tell you what, I will take my finger off the button. Let me stop playing the outro music and let you take it away.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the trailer or the hype video for the upcoming NFL Draft Show.
You can try to break me. I cut my teeth on people like you. It's gonna take a lot more to take me down. I'm a step ahead, watch me wear my crown. Don't need a knight to guard the cave. Can count the dragons that I've slayed. You can give it all you got. Cause love is running through my veins. Oh, this lion can't be tamed. There's fire